So honestly, guys, this clip is a clip that you're going to want to make sure that you watch to the very, very end. This clip perfectly encompasses the reason as to why Israel is cratering support all around the entire world. And I am glad, led by Spain, that countries are now coming together to hold Israel accountable for the terror that it is that they are dealing all around the world. We're going to see Piers Morgan confront an Israel spokesperson on Ben Gvir's new law that allows them capital punishment, specifically only for the people of Palestine. As usual, let's watch the clip in full. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts towards the end.
Which is, we hear a lot that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, and that is what the support should be driven by, is that realization it's the only democracy, has democratic values and so on. And at the same time, you have a lot of people who believe this whole thing in the Middle East will never get resolved until the Palestine issue gets resolved, and what many perceive to be the occupation by Israel of Gaza ends, and there is a two-state solution, and so on. And we've heard these arguments from, obviously I've heard them a lot in the last 3 years in particular. And when you try and defend Israel on that basis of it being the only democracy, you then have a story like we saw last week, where the Knesset passes a new law where people that the Israeli government, the authorities decide are Palestinian terrorists can be executed. But the same law doesn't apply to Israelis. And when I saw that, and I saw Ben Gvir with his noose on his lapel of his suit and cracking the champagne open, and what is so clearly a two-tier form of justice that only applies to Palestinians, not to any Israelis who might commit acts of terrorism. What do you say to people who say, well, this is what we're talking about? There's a two-tier society in the minds of people like Ben Gvir, where the Palestinians are at a lower level and they can be treated differently to Israelis. That change of the law seemed to me to be an obvious example of what people that criticize Israel, what they're getting at. What do you say to that?
Number one, that law is not about Arabs or Palestinians. It's about jihadist terrorists, people who come to kill Israelis through an ideology, a Nazi-like ideology. It's a law trying to say we should not anymore give these people up in peace deals, the kind that Gershon Baskin negotiated. This is not that kind of thing. From now on, if somebody set out to murder Jews and murder Jews, we're going to get rid of them. And by the way, there was 5 people were executed in Texas in 2025. All the Arab countries around us have laws for execution. It's a death penalty. It's normative. Everybody understands it. I really don't understand why you're making it out to be so complex. If somebody comes to terrorize and murder Jews and Israelis, as Jews and Israelis,
because it doesn't apply to Israelis. The law doesn't apply to Israelis.
If there was a jihadist terrorist who was a Jew and Israeli, he would be absolutely underneath that law. That's just not correct.
We had one, Baruch Goldstein. What was Baruch Goldstein?
And he was indeed killed. And he was a terrorist, and he was killed. It's very simple. It's very simple.
Don't pretend.
It's all very simple. Piers, you're making something that's obvious and simple into complex. If you don't mind for a second, thank you. It's so simple. Somebody who comes to mass murder should be killed and never traded away. That's number one. Number two is, I never talk about Israel being a democracy. I believe that Israel has democratic principles, but I don't sell Israel to the world based on the fact that it's a democracy in the Middle East. What if there was another democracy in the Middle East? That's not the thing. This is our ancestral homeland. We have the right to self-determination. It's something called birth of nations. We have a national indigeneity that's connected to this land, proven by archaeology, proven by history.
Only us? Only us?
Not at all. No, see, that's the thing. And by the way, Piers, I heard your last interview, and I want to say to you, the guy says to you something like, do you believe in ethnic national states? Piers, there are many ethnic national states with sizable minorities. China is one of them. Japan is another one. All the Arab countries around us. Ireland is one of them. Okay, there are many, many countries in this world that are ethnic national states with sizable minorities. That's called birth of nations. That's Wilson's 14 points. That's the idea that ethnic national peoples have a right to their ancestral homelands. It's not such a tricky question. I don't know why you get messed up on this. It's simple.
Yes, there is such a thing as ethnic national states. Supremacy. He
I'm not talking
spoke
about
about
supremacy. I'm talking about our tiny land. Get on, you'll get a chance.
Tiny land,
Don't worry. Don't worry.
David
You'll get your
against
chance.
Let me,
Goliath.
okay,
You'll get
let me,
interfering,
look, don't talk over each other.
The bottom
All right,
line is
hang
that
on, hang on,
Ben Gvir-
please. Hang on.
Piers, can I say something?
One second. I just want to finish.
Look, if you want to know my honest view, Isai, Ben Gvir, I think, is just as an appalling an extremist as the enemies you're trying to fight. And I think him and Smotrich
Has he murdered anybody?
are largely responsible. Hang on, let me finish. Are largely responsible for the dwindling support for Israel in America and around the world. And I would argue it is incumbent on decent Israelis to stand up against what is being done in their names by people like Smotrich and Ben Gvir, who I think have made it crystal clear they want to kick all the Palestinians out of Gaza, they want to take back the West Bank, they want to do everything they think they can get away with. And at some point, decent Israelis have to stand up to these people and stop them doing it in their name. Or I can tell you, these polls about Israel's lack of popularity in America and around the world will get worse.
I understand your perspective, and it makes sense. And from where you're sitting, I can understand why you see it that way. And I might see it the same way if I was sitting there. But from within Israel, when Israel's under jihadist attack, when we had governments that gave away our land and shrank us and endangered our security in the north, in Gaza. So people are tired of that. People are tired of jihadist criminality in the Negev and in the north. And they see Ben Gvir. You may see him as, kind of, he's acting out and he wants to hang bad guys and he's given Israel a bad image. But from within Israel, it's like finally somebody standing up for me, trying to defend me and make sure that I have my guns to defend myself, not shrinking my army, but growing my army, making sure that I have the right to bear weapons, and if I do shoot at bad guys, that I won't be prosecuted. So people see Ben Gvir as defending. So you said Israelis should stand up against Ben Gvir, Smotrich, but they're going to be voting for them in larger numbers in the next election. So that means that your understanding from where you're sitting is not like where Israelis are seeing it. They're seeing these people as defending their rights and making sure that our children are safe. You got to remember, Piers, we got to send our wives out to go shopping and drive on these roads. We got to make sure that our kids go to school. And if they're going to be blown up, then maybe, I don't care 1,000 times if I'm disliked by somebody out in Europe, as long as my kid gets home safe. And that's what Ben Gvir is providing.
And do you feel the same? And do you feel the same about Palestinians? Hang on, please. Hang on. I will come to other guests, but do you feel the same about Palestinian civilians or Lebanese civilians who have been killed in the last 2 or 3 years?
Do I believe what? That they should have a right to liberty and safety and decency?
Do you feel the same? Do you feel the same concerns for Palestinian and Lebanese civilians?
No, I cannot feel the same because I'm here to defend my people that have been persecuted for 2,000 years. But I do believe that they have the same intellectually. I think that they have the same rights and the same opportunities and decencies. I think that Israel is going to provide safety for the Druze, for the average Lebanese. Remember, today the Lebanese president said that she believes that there's going to be more safety when Israel is going to be a partner for peace for the average Lebanese people, right? So Israel is a force for liberty against jihadism. Look at the Druze. What flags are they waving in Syria and Sweden? Israeli flags. Look at the Iranian people saying, Netanyahu, come and liberate me. So of course I want to see all these people live in safety. Do you think that a bigger Israel means more people subjugated? No, it means more people liberated and defended against jihadism. Look, we've gotten rid of, we're getting rid of Hamas, we're getting rid of Hezbollah. Do you think that people are going to benefit, or they're going to look at the Golan Heights? We asserted sovereignty of the Golan Heights. Look at the people living there. They're living there in freedom and opportunity. Look at the people that we gave away land to in Gaza.
Let me bring in the others. Let me bring in Gershom Baskin. Gershom Baskin, let me just ask you, first of all, what was your reaction to that law change in the Knesset last week and the way that Ben Gvir and people around him celebrated it?
Well, I think it's horrible. I think it's immoral, and I think it's unjust, and I don't think we should have a law to execute people. But I want to say something which is overridingly much more important, Piers, because this whole conflict comes down to a very simple equation that people like Isai and Jonathan simply ignore. And this is something that the people of Israel need to know and the people of Palestine need to know, because Israel will never have security if the Palestinians don't have freedom. And the Palestinians will never have freedom if Israel doesn't have security. That's what this whole conflict comes down to. And if we don't understand that, then we will continue to wage wars without resolving these conflicts, because there are political solutions. There is only a two-state solution to this conflict between the river and the sea. There are 7.5 million Jews and 7.5 million Palestinians living on the same ancestral homeland between the river and the sea. It has not failed because it has not been tried. The Oslo peace process never had an end game. It was negotiations forever with failed obligations. Both sides took on commitments and failed to implement them. There were no mechanisms built into the agreements to ensure that we implement our obligations. We violated the agreements, the Palestinians violated agreements, but that doesn't matter, that's history. In looking forward from today onward, we will not have security if the Palestinians don't have freedom. They won't have freedom if we don't have security. We all need to understand that. We have 2 years and 9 months when Donald Trump is in the White House. It is probably the only chance that we will have to have a peace process imposed upon us, because the people of Israel and the people of Palestine have elected horrible leaders. Actually, the Palestinians haven't been to the polls since 2006, but we continue to elect leaders who work against our bigger interest, and the Palestinians haven't had an opportunity to select leaders since 2006.
Gershon, let me ask you on that point. Gershon, on that point, looking at the prediction.
So I leave that part of the clip there, but this is the thing that I don't think the people in Israel that are pro Ben Gvir, pro Netanyahu, pro the wars that are taking place, these are the things that I feel like these guys are not understanding. It's these sorts of thoughts, these sorts of ideas that are the main reason behind why Israel is cratering support all around the world. The fact that it is that he really tried to gaslight us and make us believe that the new execution law isn't specifically for Palestinians is just ridiculous. And it really highlights and really shows that these guys really are at a point where they don't care. They don't care whether what they're saying is believable. They just care about what it is that they're trying to do. And could that be the Greater Israel Project? Could that be expansion into more land, into more areas? These are the questions that it is that people like me that take a look and that believe that, yes, Israel definitely had the right to defend itself after October 7th, but they've gone way too far. Gone way too far. Listen, the exact same way he said that their wives need to be able to go out and shop, I 100% wholeheartedly agree. But guess what? So do Palestinians. Palestinian men that aren't Hamas want to be able to send their wives and their children out. Lebanese men who aren't Hezbollah want to be able to do the exact same thing. But because of the actions that it is that Israel are taking within both regions, guess what? They're not able to do so. And then the point that it is that I've been consistently making throughout this entire genocide that we've seen within Gaza is this. What I don't get is this. What do they think is going to happen when the sons, the grandsons, and the daughters of the people that have been slain over the past few years and right now in Lebanon, what are they going to do when they grow up and they grow older? Do you think that these people are going to be a peaceful people after they saw you slaughter their mothers, their fathers, siblings, family, grandparents? Of course not. You're speeding up the process of radicalizing these young individuals. It's crazy. And you guys really, really, really need to think about it. They really, really do need to think about it. But I know that they're not going to. Their standpoint is their standpoint. And they are not going to fight against it. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this exchange in the comment section below. Finally, once again, Piers Morgan actually on the right side of things. We love to see it. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. Appreciate you guys.